Welcome back to JRG Guitars Up. Today is episode 2 in our Headless guitar build. We unboxed it in episode 1, and now here we are in episode 2 where we'll start to apply the finish. So I have a vision of how I want this guitar to look, and let's see if we can kind of get there. Again, we're going to do some staining, and then we're going to coat it in poly. But let's see if this turns out well, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Coming right at you. So here we go. I'm starting off with sanding, and I begin with a 220 and just sand here, starting on the back, hitting the sides and the front, getting it all sanded up with that 220, and then to a 320, and even up to, I believe, I went to a 500 at one point. So just getting this all sanded down so I'm ready to have a nice starting spot. I hit it here with a little bit of water and then wait a bit. It causes that grain to kind of lift up, and I can knock those little fibery grain spots down as well to really get it a nice smooth starting spot. And then it's time to apply my stain. Now I went with my Kalamazoo mahogany here from StewMac, and I started right out of the bottle on this upper horn and started spreading it in, and right at about this moment I realized that's pretty dark, and it was not what I was looking for. I wanted to be able to see some of the accent from those grains, so I stopped and grabbed my little cup here, poured in just some isopropyl alcohol and then a few drops there of that dark brown, and then mixed it up pretty thoroughly with a little popsicle stick and stirring it around and such, and then I can begin to apply and see if this is a little more of what I was looking at. And as I start to put this on, indeed, that's what I'm looking for. So I spread it all around the guitar here, just on the face, not worried about the sides or back. That's going to end up being black. I certainly get in those pickup cavities and right around the entrance to where the neck joint's going to be, because as things are put together, I want to make sure nothing peeks around the edge, that it's not stained in there as well as I want. So what I noticed as I put that brown on, I was hoping that the little low spots and those sort of holes where the grain was just going to fill in nicely, and I would Q-tip it with some dark stain, but the stain did not take. And I felt I should come back here with my grain filler, the Aqua Coat, and go ahead and tint it with black and put it in those low spots, and that would perform two functions, as it would sort of fill that grain slightly, but most importantly it would give it that dark color. So I want the low spots to have the dark, and therefore I'd have the contrast, and it would make it really pop out on the finished product. And not have it be that white or really light color that it had presented. So here we are. I just take this little popsicle stick and this solution that I've created, this sort of putty, gelatinous stuff that Aqua Coat is, and I just start to apply it into the holes, and you can see it kind of spreads out, it gets everywhere, and then at some point I'm going to go and hopefully sand all this back, and just what will remain will be the low spots, which will be dark. Here we are with my tinted Aqua Coat mixture down in these low spots, looking fairly decent. As I go through and sand this back now, I sure hope that some of that black comes off, because it is everywhere. But you know, when you don't know what you're doing, crazy things happen. So certainly crazy things do happen, but in this case, good things happen. So I come in with my sanding block and just knock down most of that stuff, and it really did exactly what I wanted it to do. Kept the dark fill in the low spots, and then the lighter spots just sort of sanded back a bit, really looking nice. Here we are with pretty much all the sanding done. I brought it down to a good level. I may just spritz a little water on there. There's a lot of dust on, and I think that'll lighten it up even more, and then I'll be able to decide if I want to do any more stain of the brown on there. We'll see, but I like the way all it filled. I now have some really good accents. I didn't even see it before, but it's almost like a little rivers running through the grain right here. Very cool looking. So this one turning out pretty nice so far. We're making it happen. Well, I hit it with a little bit of Windex, which I use as sort of just a wax and grease remover type thing, and the grain just completely popped out as soon as I hit that. Man, I wish I would have done it on camera because it was pretty stunning. But anyway, there are some fantastic details in here. This sort of swirling part right here. I have almost a quilted type look up there. And of course, all the spalted burls and knots going throughout. Wow, this is going to look great. As I look through here, I have a few spots that do have a little bit of light or white part to it. And it's this little piece right here and this little piece right here that I immediately saw a stain was not taking to those. So I believe I will try to sand that down just a little bit more, get to some wood, try to get some stain to take there so that it will have some more uniformity there. And then the other spot is really just right here. I have a little bit of white that's coming through. I'm not even going to mess with that one at all, but boy, hitting that with that little bit of water, getting the dust off, just made that grain pop out. This thing looks great. So I then come in here and just tried to fix a couple spots on this upper horn. I had these two spots that were light, so I sanded it back a bit, hopefully getting any kind of sealer or factory glue that might have been on there. Got down to wood, coming in was to Q-tip with my Kalamazoo mahogany and hitting it on there, and the stain took and did what I needed it to do. And then it's time for me to get the black on the sides and back. Now this was something that I just really wanted to be careful that I did not get black on my gloves, that then I would touch the front of the guitar, or that I would touch any splatters on the front. So I was very careful going up to the edge, knowing I would feather that in later. So 2 coats on here now. You can see the difference between 2 coats on this, 1 coat on the side. It definitely darkened up, but it almost picks up a purple type hue, which I don't think that's exactly what I'm going for. I'd like it to be more really black. I'm just going to try to stain this edge right here to the darkness I want. So I'm coming in here just with a stain on a cloth and hitting just the edge where the black turns to the brown on the top, and it just did nicely. And now I come straight off the bottle with black to really accent this into a dark, dark color. I'm hitting all the corners of the access cover, and then there the ferrule will go to bolt the neck on, because I want to make sure where anything sits, you don't see any lighter colors peeking out from underneath, so making sure I got all of that well in there. So here we go, fully blacked, undiluted dye, so it really went dark, and that's what I'm after. So since it was not diluted with alcohol, the dry time is going to take a little bit longer. We're going to let this go overnight. So I'm going to take some full brown and try to thread in the edges here as a little bit of a blend. See how that goes instead of using the black, because I think this is dark, but it's a little maybe more forgiving, just to thread those edges in a little bit. That looks pretty good. Wow. It's kind of what I'm after. So here I go around just the rest of the guitar, almost burst-like, bringing that black in around the front to hide the hard edge and just make it sort of accent around and look like it's supposed to be there. Here's the veneer with the lifted up on here. I stained all around it. My plan now is to just feed a little bit of glue down into there, and then I'm going to put a weight on top of it to help push it around that corner a little bit, and I'll let it set up. So I've just got a little bit of tight bond here. I've got some toothpicks that I'll use to get that glue down in there, and then we'll be off and running. Yeah, so I had this veneer, it lifted right here, I could see on the edge. So I went in and opened it up just a hair so that I could put in some of this tight bond, and then I'm going to try and seal it down. Being very nervous about sealing this in and then glue interfering with the stain. So care to be made not to get too sloppy here. Just putting a piece of paper on there. This is a heavy bag. It's actually cat litter. All right, been a couple of hours. The weights are off, and we will see what we've got. It looks like it's down. I have just a little bit of fiber from the paper, which I think I'll be able to just sand down, and we'll get this good, and then it'll be ready for a little bit of sanding sealer to lock that color in. All right, so I have a little piece of what I think is 500. So I come in with that little piece of sandpaper, this 500 grit, and I just knock the edge down a little bit. Of course, it did get down to wood, but I come in with a little more stain. This is just black. I'm trying to really get that edge so you can't see any raw wood there, and it actually looks pretty darn good. So upon examination of my veneer here, I've noticed a little bit of the veneer is lifting on this corner. I'm going to try and show that. So I'm going to glue it down, and I'm just going to split the veneer out a little bit more and then put some just CA glue, just a little bit of super glue in there to try and then hold it down and get it to set just in that one area. So I'm just going to open it up a hair so the glue can have somewhere to penetrate, and then we'll see how we do from there. So if only there was one or two fixes to be made, there was a number of fixes that I had to do in here, as I noticed at various times the veneer was lifting and I had to do these surgical type repairs. I found that the CA glue actually worked just as good, and it was a quicker dry time than the tight bond, and worked out well. As I peel the paper off, sometimes leaves a little bit of fiber, but enables me to sand down, and it worked out. It looks to be in there pretty well. I'll sand that down, reapply some stain if I need to, and then we'll be in good shape. Well, there we have this episode in the book. So we took that body and we sanded it, we prepared it, we stained it, we started to feather in those edges. Had a couple little bumps in the road with that veneer wanting to lift off, but we were able to glue it back down and sand, reapply some stain, and make it look nice. So now we're ready to finish the finish work, if you will, on the next episodes, where we will then apply some of the poly and hopefully do some wet sanding and some more poly, and we'll see how we can get down the road. So if you're enjoying this video series, if you're liking the videos and you enjoy this type of content, I would ask you please hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and ring that bell for notifications, and you'll know the next time a video is coming out for you. So thank you very much for tuning in to JRG Guitars. We'll see you on the next one.
JRG Guitars.